one.
Perfect. So, Jason, what are you seeing in your marketplace like I am here?
It's similar to what you said. It's like if you're in a good neighborhood, you're away from busy streets, you're seeing the market value is pretty much staying the same. Sometimes we can get multiple offers and go above the last sold comp. We could expect pretty much to sell at the comp 30, and if we're lucky, get a good offer in 20 days. However, let's say your average, it feels funny to say this, like an average home is 1.1 to 1.5 million dollars. But if you're below that, if you're below the average 1 million or 900, and especially if it's a smaller home with a smaller lot, 2 bedrooms, it's going to take longer to sell. You might get a good offer, but it'll take 30 to 40 days to sell.
Yeah.
And you're going to see less showings, less visitors at the open house, less offers. And unfortunately, yeah, we are seeing price cuts for things that are below the average.
Yeah. Why
And
do you
maybe,
think it's less? Why do you think traffic? I mean, literally traffic in May, June was, you see these videos online that people are
Mhm.
around the house and all of a sudden there's zero. What is that? What do you think happened on your
Oh
side?
man, you know this very well. I'm sure what it is just there's a lot of people that, oh yes, I can, with these 3 and 4% interest rates, I could buy a home that's 800 or maybe a million or maybe 500. They were once at 800 and now they qualify for 600, and there's nothing in that neighborhood. They were once at 600 and now they can only qualify for 400. There's nothing in that neighborhood. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of people that want to buy,
Yeah.
but those monthly payments are so high that they're just priced out. It's just a smaller pool of buyers. Trying to explain that to the people that I'm helping, but there's people who want your home, but and well, there's still low inventory. Yes, you might even be the only home for that price in the market, but the people who are barely affording your home, they're kicked out unless if they get, we are talking about earlier, right? Gift money or something like that, or money to buy down the rates.
Buy
They're
down
just
the rates.
out.
Yeah.
They're gonna rent for a year or two.
So if you think about this 2.75 January,
Mm-hmm.
we'll call it December, and we'll use your 7% rate now. You
Mm-hmm.
realize that the payment not only has doubled, like a $300,000 loan was 1,500. Well, that $300,000 loan is now 3,400. It's not
Ooh,
doubled. It's
ouch.
doubled plus some.
Yeah,
And so you got that going on. Then you have when you go to the gas station, how's that feel? When you go to the grocery store, how's that feel?
almost double, practically
Double,
double.
double, easily double. I think groceries have tripled. Or my kids just eat more. And so that's where you had low rates. Oh, it's great. It's a payment I can afford. But if I'm renting and I'm paying $2,400 for rent, I want to go buy an $800,000 place. I only have 5% down. I don't have family to give me money. My payment's $6,000. I'm
Yeah,
just going to rent. Now
yeah,
I could stretch to get to 4,500, but I'm not paying six. And that is where I'm on that side of taking the calls. The buyers are still interested. We're still busy with pre-approvals. People are
right.
still want to buy a home. They're just out. And
They're just out.
they're out.
Exactly.
There's nothing. I mean, even if we get creative and do some 2-1 buy downs and the seller throws a bunch of money at it to help us get the rate down, because when you do a $20,000 price reduction, it saves the buyer $200 a month. You do a 20 grand seller credit, we could probably save the buyer about $400 or $500 off a payment.
Oh, interesting. I was wondering why people don't just look for a more affordable home or put more down. They buy down rate. Okay, so it's more
Yeah.
efficient to buy
It's
down the
worth,
rate.
yeah, it's worth it. However, let's go back to that 1,500 and 3,400.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I got a seller credit. They buy me down to 2,900. It was $1,500 in June or
Still almost
January,
double.
right? It is just, I call it the sticker shock. It's the sticker
Yeah.
shock. And so
Brutal.
that's where when your buyers or your sellers are asking where the buyers are, just tell them to listen to that part right there and go, listen, they just double. I mean, look, it's okay. If someone's looking to buy a house and their payment moves $100 or goes down 100, goes up,
Right.
that's not going to stop anyone. But when
Right.
you're like, hey, you're pre-approved. Oh, by the way, I need to have a conversation with you. In the last 90 days, your payment went up double.
Double.
That's
Sucks.
that's
Actually, more than
that's the
sucks. It's
reality.
just not possible for a lot of
It's not
people.
possible. It's not
Yeah.
possible. And the home prices are too high. So that's why I feel we've seen a just tremendous slowdown in open houses. It's just not attainable anymore.
I
In
agree.
our area, it's unfortunate, like you, right? It's 1.4 and 1.2 and 1.3. These numbers are crazy numbers.
And
If we
nothing
were,
fabulous too.
yeah,
Maybe
if you
or
and I were in like Florida selling $300,000 homes, we wouldn't have any problems.
yeah, maybe, but maybe three or 400 would be high for them, especially with
Yeah,
the interest rates.
yeah,
Well, then, okay. So, Chris, the other thing is too, not just so lower than average or a less desirable street, noisy street, busy street, smaller home, or the family wants like an extra office or an extra bedroom for more than one kid. So, two bedrooms are not really flying off the shelf. That was the first thing we saw, that it took more than 30 days to sell a two-bedroom home, even in a hot neighborhood. But also now what we're seeing is new construction. Okay, so things that are not just below the average, but above. So if your average is 1.5 to 1.6, you have a new construction home that was, grandma's home that they tore down and she just cashed out, went to Florida and retired. But now above that 2 million, 2,300,000. Oh man, those luxury homes are sitting, especially if they're well above the average of that neighborhood, like more than 20% or 30% of the average in that neighborhood. They're sitting for 30, 40, 50 days price reductions, big reductions,
yeah.
big reductions.
We're seeing that too. We're seeing that in our area. Bigger homes are taking a lot longer to sell, and you're seeing price reductions. And it's a, you just, as an agent, you have to be really smart how you price. Because do you feel if you came out on the market too high on a home, that the seller is probably going to lose some of the buyers versus coming on the market maybe a little bit lower? They'll probably get achieve a higher price. What is your thought process on that?
Of course, and that's always the case. It's really hard to explain to people. The best way to do it is through comps. But if you're buying a home, you're most competitive by giving the highest price, obviously. And if you're selling a home, you're most competitive by being the lowest. The best case scenario, even in a hot market to get the most attention, what works for us is this home is for sale for $900,000. It's been on the market for 5 days and people saw it. You're better, bigger, and you fixed up the kitchen and you fixed and you remodeled everything. Let's come in 10 or $20,000 below. Well, 20, no. When things were hot, let's come in $5 or $10,000 below them. We'll be less days on the market, and all that attention from here will come here. If there's a bidding war here, people miss out here, then they come to us here. And we'll be more competitive by being better, but a lower price. And even if they want us to sign an addendum that we won't accept any price that we don't like, or we won't accept anything below $900,000, below whatever, we can do that. But yeah, the price is going to go higher. But
Yeah.
now, instead of, oh man, you'll sell it for, 10 or $35,000 above the sticker price, it's like you will sell it maybe at the comp, maybe a little bit lower, 5 or 10,000
Yeah.
below.
And are you having objections with sellers like going, well, this house down the street sold and I'm way better than them. Why are you coming underneath? Are you
Good
running into a
question.
little bit of resistance, or are they now accepting it? Is it now realizing like, oh my goodness, yes, this is not a seller's market where I can get everything I want from the buyer now.
Good question. The answer is actually more like difficult, more complicated than you would think because I've worked my skills enough to show people reality of where we're at,
Hmm.
and then they see that this home is 100 more square feet and recently remodeled, and they're 20,000 lower than us. Let's lower the price. But so I'm not getting resistance when I show them the reality, either when we sign or when somebody else is better than us but a lower price. But what's really hurting is when that lower price gets multiple offers and they go up to 1.1, we're at 985, we're at 990, and then offers accepted at 990. They're thinking that they're at market value until the home that's only 100 more square feet, but has $60,000 worth of work of it goes up to 1 million or 1.1. Now I'm getting those resistance. And when we have requests for repairs, there's a plumbing issue and they want $20,000 back. What the hell? I'm already giving them this damn low ball and they want $20,000 and it could possibly kill a deal.
Yeah.
Heavy negotiation skills come into it
Right now,
and show them the reality.
you have to be a skilled listing agent right now. I mean, it's
Yeah,
because that's the name of the game. They literally lock it up and then they do a home inspection. I see it all the time. I'm on the
yeah,
other end with my buyers like, oh, I'm going to
yeah,
stick to it, right? And that's
right.
where it's important to have backup buyers. Would you also say if you're working with a buyer and they
100%.
do get into a bidding war situation and it gets a little escalated about being like, hey, what about being the second buyer? Like that's what I always tell them. Like, why don't you just go in and go strong and say, I'll be your backup. I'm willing to do what X, Y, and Z. Are you seeing that? Because 1 out of 5 escrows are falling out. 1 out of 5.
Like, are people doing it or is it a good strategy?
Both. What do you think?
I think it's a great strategy. Bad market, good market. It's always good to be a backup. And I'm really good at helping people sell their home and I'm really good at helping buyers, but for some reason it's always been hard for me for a buyer to be a backup. They're never excited about it. I
Mm-hmm.
only like maybe once or twice submitted a backup offer. And then it's really hard for me with sellers. Once we do the open house and they see we got all the attention, I go, okay, we got to sell your house twice because they might not qualify for the loan. They
Yeah.
might pull out because of something stupid. It's easy for buyers to pull out, especially in California during the inspection period. And then, no, I don't want to deal with this crap anymore. I hate showings and I hate open houses. I think it's a great strategy, no matter what especially now, but I'm getting a lot of ambivalence. And then so then we're in the contract and then people still want to see the home and the seller's still like, I still got to let people into my home. And I'm like, dude, we want to get a backup. And they're so excited. But once I tell them we're in escrow, they don't want to give the backup.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot where I've been on the other end with my buyer. They missed the home
Yeah.
and they're devastated and they're like, oh my gosh. Right. And I've actually turned around and said, encourage your agent to submit it as a backup. And they're like,
Right.
what's that? Like,
What's
they're not
that?
even talking about. I go, go in there. And then if they have any hiccups, then the seller is not going to want to go back on the market, but they know you're in the wings waiting. And then if they come and ask for that plumbing of 20 grand, and then I'm strategically going right a 15-day close. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, just because most
Oh,
of your 30-day closes. And so
yeah.
they're 10 days in.
They'll be
And
on
then
the
this
same
buyer
timing.
starts giving them grief. We come in and maybe we even close sooner than they were going to. And like, it's really worked the last 30 days. I think
Oh, that's right. That's
three
brilliant. Wow. Okay. So
three of my
15-day close.
buyers were backups to the original offer. We missed it.
Mhm.
I consulted them and the other agent, and I'm like, there's a chance they went really high on purpose just to lock it up, but they're going
Yeah.
to come and they're going to ask for 500, $5,000 here,
Yeah.
10,000. They're going to ask for unreasonable.
$2,000 on the inspection, kick all the tires.
Yes. And I go, and then the seller isn't, they're going to be okay. It's just really getting people to do that. I know it's a lot
Yeah.
of work and you get emotionally tied and you're like, and then the buyer ends up, I mean, I had this one buyer, we're actually closing next week and
Sweet.
they had 6 of them, 6 times they got outbid and they were the
Oh
second
shit.
buyer. And,
Yeah.
and they're like, Chris, it's not working. And I was like, and obviously they weren't willing to go over what they were willing to go over. This finally came back. They came back to me and said, you're not going to believe the third home. It was in escrow and they backed out at day 29. And I'm like, 15-day close
Wow.
right now. And we got the agents on and we offered the original price that we offered and we got it. And they said, look, we're not going to jerk around. Send us the inspection. They reviewed it and said, we will give you this price. Let's close. And I already had them fully underwritten. I was like, boom, boom, boom. And it was like, everyone's like, that was good. And they were thankful because no one else is talking about that. Now, look, in a hot market and you don't have cancellations, but I want you to think about 1 out of 5 escrows are canceling nationwide. It's
Yeah.
20% last month. 20%. Now, I don't know about our areas here. I see a little bit. I mean, the other day in Huntington
Yeah.
Beach, I get the MLS sent to me. I saw 6 new homes come back on the market on Monday.
Oh yeah.
So what happened?
Oh, probably negotiations, the repairs.
Lots
They
of
got greedy.
repairs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So like the sellers are getting greedy on too high of a price. The buyers are getting too greedy, asking for money back. You already got a 5 or 6% drop. The market is still somewhat strong. There's still demand. Don't blow it, man. Don't ask for too much back. You're gonna kill.
You're going to kill the deal.
Yeah, I had this one where the sellers asked for $30,000 for one sewer break. One, it pissed my seller off. So it was insulting, you know. Can we at least get a second quote to verify?
Right.
Dude, for one sewer line and it's in the dirt. You could dig that thing up. It's not in the concrete.
It's not under concrete where you have to pull it up. Right.
What's the
Yeah.
deal, man? In your opinion, are those contractors who do the quotes, are they sometimes a scammer, like just asking for a shitload of money?
I think the buyer's telling them to juice it. I think the agent on the other side is helping them, coaching them. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but it's
Yeah.
foolish. You could completely kill a deal if you insult the seller enough.
Yes, yes. And so let's go back to this. This is going to be a
Mm,
great question in the future is, so what happens, like, because everyone thinks, values are going to keep coming down, but I'm a seller and I have 3% rate and I was trying to cash out and hit a home run, but I didn't get what I wanted. I'm just going to pull my home off the market and I'm just going to rent it.
hmm
I'm just going to pull my home off the market and sit in my home longer because I have a 3% rate and you guys have 7. So I'm sorry about that. Don't you feel or see that eventually it's going to swing again where the sellers are going to just stop putting their homes on the market and we're going to be like almost 2020 again where there is no inventory? Are you
Oh,
are you starting to see a drop in listings? Are you starting to see people go, "You know what? No, I'm not gonna get lowballed. I'm not gonna get pissed off. I'm just gonna hold my home because where's rent? Is it going up or down?" Up. So at one point, this is gonna hit, and then sellers are gonna go, "Forget you." And I see it in my market. They're putting them on the market. They're also offering them for rent. So
yeah.
I'm seeing it listed at 1.4 million rent, or will willing to rent to you for 6,500 for a year. And I'm like, that home, and then I've been watching them. They're slowly going off the market. And I'm like, oops, someone missed that home because now they rented it for a year or two.
And it's easier to rent something right now than it is to sell it. It's quicker process. Yeah. Yeah, I think that might happen and it could hurt the inventory. Man, that would really hurt buyers if the rates stay where they're at and then you have super low inventory. And oh man, it could be really tough for buyers. If we have a similar to 2020 situation, but a 5, 6, 7% rate.
Right. I mean,
Do you
because
think the rates are going further up or you think they're coming back down?
I'm going to be the one that says no. I think we're going to, I think we're very close to the peak.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, you and I were talking. The Fed had a special meeting on Monday. Credit Suisse is in trouble. They are asking the U.S. to stop raising rates, and we could see a pivot with the Fed about raising rates
Especially before elections too.
before elections. But so short-term rates, that's your auto loans, credit cards, that type of borrowing rate. The banks borrow from the federal government, which was 0, and now it's
Oh,
5.25 or something.
hmm.
That rate, they were talking about doing a 3/4 increase in November, a half in December, and a quarter in January. So another 1.5% increase in rate,
Yeah.
short-term rate. Does that affect long-term rates? And everyone will tell you, no, it doesn't. They're
Yeah,
lying to
that's
you.
what you
It
hear. It
does.
doesn't.
It does because
Okay.
the long-term rate sees what's happening with short-term rates and they kind of go together. Now, when the short-term rate, let's say the Fed raises it 3/4 on whatever their November meeting, does the mortgage rate go up 3/4 that day? No,
No.
no. But what happens is we know that it's coming, and that's why the rates keep going up is because we're going, wait, 30-year fix, we can't be shorter than a 30-day wait rate of 5.25. We need to be ahead of this rate. So it kind of goes like this. But when
Yeah.
the Fed says we're going to raise it, these rates are popping. We saw from June to August, interest rates actually kind of leveled a little bit. They went to like 5.75, and we had a run up from 5.75 to up 7 in like 30, 60 days. It's because
Yeah.
we knew the Fed were raising it
Brutal.
3/4
Yeah.
of a point.
Well,
Well,
they're
if they
trying to fight inflation, right? So,
yeah, yeah. And so they raised the short-term rate 3/4 of a point. Shockingly, mortgage rates are 1.25 higher. I'm like, yeah, guys, they're ahead of us. The mortgage rates are ahead of us. They're ahead of the short-term rate. So it'll be interesting to see if the Fed changes their tone, their policy about raising rates. We will see
mhm.
mortgage rates not drop. We will see them go boom and just level off.
Okay.
Now, because remember, data lags and inflation lags, and we don't have the data from inflation. We're always like 90 days behind. If inflation numbers come back and they're less than 3%, so it's not 8%, 9% inflation, it's less
Hmm.
than 3, they will absolutely start lowering rates.
Right.
So you have and inflation comes in at 3% or less, we will see rates start going backwards.
Hmm.
If the economy, not just the United States economy, Europe, China, they're in trouble right now. They're in big trouble. And Them right now are asking us to stop raising rates. The Bank of England
Whoa.
went in and actually cut rates, and they're telling us to stop raising our rates because they're
Their economy's
US.
tied to us, right? And their banks
Yes.
are tied to us. Okay.
Yeah. And so they're asking us to stop raising rates. We're going to see a lot of information coming out in the next couple of weeks, and that's really going to dictate what we see in the next 60, 90 days
Gonna hurt
about
the world
it because
economy.
yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
so we could see, I'm telling everyone February, March, April, everyone's like, you're crazy, Chris. This thing's going to go on for 2 more years. And I'm like,
Right. That's what I'm hearing. And the home
no way.
prices are gonna plummet. That's what
Yeah.
people are saying.
Yeah. No way. Yeah. I think it's the complete opposite. I think the government did a really poor job and they raised rates way too fast. And now they're realizing the wrecking ball that there's going around crushing stuff right now. They're going to go, oh, goodness, we might have raised this way too fast. And it's hard, though. It's hard to be in their position when in
Mm.
gas and food prices are just out of control. They're like, we got to get you guys to stop spending money. So they had to raise rates, but
Right.
then just raised them way too fast. And so
Yeah. So
that's
aggressive.
that's what we're facing today.
I can't wait to see. It's just so interesting to see what's gonna happen. If the rates are gonna go higher and home prices are gonna drop, or if they'll come back down, home prices may plateau, or even inventory is low enough, they'll go back up. We'll see. I love
I
it though. I love that we're talking about it. I hate when people claim to know exactly what's going to happen because we could
there
be best informed, but we don't know in the 6 months or a
No,
year.
no, no. I see people all the time. They're like, "Oh, you should buy a home in March and April and May. That there's just no inventory. Values are never going to go
Yeah,
down."
like
And
we know
like,
exactly what's gonna. Yeah,
you'll never see that on my Instagram. Me telling you values will never go down. I was the guy side texting people like, "Stop putting that out there. You don't know." And I was
yeah.
like, I actually think you're wrong. And now I can go back to those messages in March and April and see it go, I told you so. Right. But I also don't want to be pessimistic and say the whole world's falling because
Oh, those are
not
obnoxious. Yeah,
falling.
those
Like
YouTube videos.
I'm a
Yeah.
lender. I get, hundreds and hundreds of leads every month. So I see everyone's financials, right? People are still doing very, very well. And so
Mm,
we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of people, but the sticker price is hurting us in our housing right now because, like I said, their payments doubled.
yeah, that more than hurts. Yeah. This was really cool, man. I want to do some more of these. I want
Yeah,
to
for sure. It was
collab some
great
more.
meeting you too.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I maybe we'll do something like higher production value too. Like we'll talk a couple more times,
Yeah,
but it'd
let's
be
do
cool
it.
to get something a little more legit.
Well, yeah,
I,
also let's get some data, right? But I
okay.
think in 60 days maybe we could follow up and do this again and then have some
Okay.
data to see if you and I are like what the Feds do and we can really show
Oh,
those numbers
were we
because
correct?
yeah,
And
yeah,
did
and see if like, hey,
did we
look,
predict what would
here we
happen?
yeah, and see what happens and also pull some data for housing too. That would probably be awesome.
Okay,
Okay.
dude, this might have the potential to be a podcast. That could be pretty
Oh,
cool.
I like it.
Okay. All
All right,
right,
man.
man. Well, I'm gonna post this on YouTube. Do you want me to
Okay.
send you the video too, or just post it and
Yeah, yeah, send it. I have a YouTube as well. I'll throw it on there. All right.
let's see. I guess I'll just send it through email and it'll be big, so it'll probably send it as a
We'll
Google
figure
Drive.
it out.
Yeah.
I actually have a little team that does all my stuff for me. So
Cool.
they'll reach out to you and be like, "Hey, we need this, we need that." Okay.
Okay.
All right, man.
I'll send them over. Have
Cool.
a
I'll
good
talk to you.
weekend.
You
I'll
too,
see you
bud.
on the Instagram universe. And then
All
so
right,
we'll
buddy.
we plan to chat like in the next month or so, next
I
few
love it.
weeks.
Let's
All
do it.
right.
Talk to
See you,
you.
Chris. Nice to meet you, bro.